Oh, thank you, Woody. That was an amazing overview of the industry and your journey, and just a welcome to the students and faculty and entrepreneurs and professionals. And just wanted to say thank you so much to Lindsay and Woody and John and all of the organizers of this event and this beautiful facility. I remember I was here a year ago at the first event. I was hosting or speaking, moderating at the College of Science's first entrepreneurial launchpad event. So it's wonderful to be back. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and to share a little bit about my journey from Clemson to where I am today. But I think Chris is going to go first. So, Chris, over to you, and then we'll kick it back over to me.
I'm going first because her story's more impressive. So I didn't want to go second. Be like playing after Jimi Hendrix or something. It's just going to be disappointing. Um, I'll start with the end. We'll make this brief, I promise. But I think you guys will find this interesting as students. So starting with the present. So I work for a company called Kerecis. We do fish skin for tissue regeneration. So if you have bad burns or bad wounds, we also do a lot of chronic wounds. You can use our fish skin, put in the wound, and it'll heal it. That's the. It's made in Iceland, so it's an Iceland-developed product made by my friend. These words from Woody about knowing people and building this network, I can't tell you how important that point is, and I'll double down on it during my story here. So we started in actually started about 15 years ago in product development. I wasn't part of the company, but my friend developed the product, and he comes to my house over Christmas, and he goes from Iceland, and he goes, "Hey, I think we just got FDA approval. We got 510K clearance, and we should make a company out of this." And I go, "No, because I don't know anything about this stuff." I was an IT guy, right? I had a nice high-paying job, just kind of cruising along, doing pretty well. Worked internationally many times. But anyway, because he and I had started a company before, to Woody's point, there's a certain amount of trust, and what you learn, or one of the things I learned, is that there's subject matter expertise, but finding the right partners and trusted people is far superior. You can do anything with a trusted team, and I think that's what he's alluding to. So I gave up my 27-year IT career and started down the road of biotech, and so it was amazing. And so I was, one of those guys just getting hammered every day with all sorts of problems and this and that, and then I start, and it was just me in my basement with a phone, and the phone didn't ring. I was like, oh yeah, nobody knows we exist. I have to start making calls. I have to get on offense, which was awesome. So beautiful, go from defense to offense. And so fast forward, we did this over the last 11 years. We had to go through I would add to a box up there. Regulatory and payer issues are so complex. I would say those are the early complexities that it's like a chess game, and you got to learn this stuff because you can have the cure for cancer, but if nobody pays for it, it won't go anywhere, right? So these were some of the early on things. So we built that. We went to trade shows. The very first trade show I went to, I was in Vegas, and I had to carry the booth on my shoulder. We couldn't stay at Caesar's Palace because we had no money. I had to stay in the Flamingo, So I'm carrying the booth across, setting it up myself. So from that very humble beginning, building the business, then you start hiring people. And 2 years ago, we sold to industry, to a strategic partner, for $1.3 billion. So, yeah, one of the few unicorns also at the time, and the first unicorn ever in Iceland. So we're quite proud of it. And trust me, there's a lot of luck and a lot of good timing and all that. I graduated from Clemson in 1991. I had a history degree. So when he says you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, I think what he was referring to me. So it's okay. I got that, buddy. I'll get you back. And no, history, I would still argue a liberal arts degree is a very fine degree because it helps you think and present well. But I'll make this fast, guys, promise. So went out, but my only soluble skill was IT. I've always been an IT geek, right? Even at Clemson, I think I had one of the only PCs in my fraternity house. Actually, I had the only one. And so that was my only soluble skill. So I went out, started the IT path, went on to get my MBA, international MBA at University of South Carolina. Sorry, Thanksgivings are complex at the Hardy House, you know, and the game's on. And then they placed me in Lithuania. So we talked about Lithuania yesterday. So I just dropped into Lithuania in the mid 90s after the wall fell, worked IT, and that's where I met my business partner, Fertram Sigurjonsson. I met him, it's funny, I met him in Nice, France on the plage. It was an IBM conference. It wasn't what you think it is. But anyway, so I started importing his software into Lithuania, and that led me to going to Iceland a lot and so forth. Then I went to work for IBM in Chicago. Loved IBM, great company. But then he moved to Copenhagen, Denmark, and he goes, "Hey man, I've got so much business going on here. I think we can make a company out of it." So I said, "Sure." So I quit IBM. That was hard. I quit IBM, moved to Copenhagen. Didn't know Danish, didn't know anything, but I've been there. Nice place. And so we started that company. We grew it, and we had offices in Germany, offices in Aarhus around Denmark, and we sold that off. I learned many, many mistakes in that startup phase. So I think you'll also hear this repeated. You kind of have to do this a few times to learn. And so we had a lot of lessons learned there. Went back to the U.S. Oh, my daughter was born in Copenhagen, and she ultimately went to Clemson and graduated under Dr. Winslow's direction. And so she graduated here, and I joked last night, trust me, Harte 2.0 at Clemson was a much improved version over Harte 1.1. I also joked, I hope my files are still on paper and destroyed somewhere. So otherwise, Woody's going to kick me off the panel if he ever saw them. But anyway, so, and then did IT, and then I went to move to India. Hey, where's the gentleman from Kerala? Yeah. He's from one of my favorite places to go in India for vacation. So I ran an IT shop and an offshore group out of Delhi. And again, you learn all these things, and by going abroad, you know, multiple times and learning multiple languages and getting very uncomfortable with things really helps you in an entrepreneurial environment. So for your entrepreneurs, you know, one pattern you're going to see, I think, with all of us is, I know part of her story too. She's just like, this is too easy. I'm just going to go challenge myself, you know. So I'm constantly doing that. And then that led up. I moved back to the U.S. Then I met Fertram again, and then we started the company. That's the rough curriculum vitae. It's actually depressing to take 56 years and just like do it in 5 minutes, but that's it.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. And I did not know about the unicorn portion of the story, which is outstanding. And I would say most CEOs dream of building something from scratch to unicorn status, which is a 1 point, whatever $1 billion valuation or acquisition, which is amazing. So congratulations.
If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me.
That is amazing Clemson success story. My name is Jennifer Manning, and I am the co-founder and founder CEO of Como Biosciences. It's a next generation targeted precision genome engineering technology company. We're commercializing a pipeline of serine recombinases, which are integrases that occur naturally in nature and have an incredible ability to deliver large DNA cargo. So our application is a gene editing application across industries. It's an out licensing business model. We are actually not developing therapeutics yet. We're not manufacturing or providing services, but we're enabling the industries that you just heard Woody provide an incredible overview of. Literally playing in anything from agricultural bio, cell and gene therapy, antibodies, recombinant vaccines, really any application in which you need targeted precision gene editing, even in diagnostic antibodies, for example. And I'll get into the benefits of why we're doing what we're doing in a minute and what drove me and led me here. I'm a 1995 College of Science graduate in biological sciences, and I went on to pursue a graduate degree at New York University, NYU, in health policy and management. I was passionate about science since I was a little girl, and loved doing science experiments, making volcanoes, like all the fun stuff, baking soda, and was really inspired by a chemistry teacher in high school that did dry ice experiments, throwing buckets of dry ice down the auditorium. And I just thought, that's so cool. How did he do that? And I knew that I wanted to study science in college. I think knowing what you want to study is really important. And how do you figure out what you want to study needs to be something that you find interesting. Like me, like many, I was the first to go to college in my family. Both of my parents only had their associate's degree. They met at 17. My dad enlisted in the military. He was actually about to go to Vietnam and was discharged back from, having a sick mother who ended up passing away when he was really young in his early 20s and was raised by his grandparents. Um, my mom and dad got married really young and had me at like 21 or something. And so they just started their family and started working. So I not only did I pay for college myself, but I didn't really have anyone guiding me on how to choose a major and how to think about a career. I kind of had to do it on my own. And I went with, I'm just going to use the money that, I'm going to take loans for. It's my money. I'm going to study what I want to study. My dad wanted me to be a dentist. I didn't think that sounded like something I wanted to do. But what I think is really important for students is not only knowing what you want to do and following your heart, but knowing what you don't want to do. And I knew that I did not want to go to medical school. I didn't like blood. I didn't want to be a doctor. And I thought, I'll figure it out later. So I think that my very first bit of advice is follow your heart and spend your time and your money pursuing something that you're interested in, because the whole entire rest of your career is not going to be a job. It's going to be fun and it's going to be your passion. So upon graduating from Clemson, I was also a Chi-O. I know there's lots of sorority and fraternity and Greek folks in the room. And I was an ATO little sister. And I was very involved with SAE too. We were talking about this yesterday. My college boyfriend was the lead singer in the most popular band at Clemson. Fun fact. It was called Jedi Mind Trick. So fun times. And that's how I know what a Les Paul guitar is.
I was evidently in the second most popular band in Clemson. I don't think we met before.
I win. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so I moved to New York City right after graduation, and sort of this is where I wanted to start the story. I didn't know what I wanted to do, as I shared, but I wanted to do something in healthcare. So I circled in the New York Times, highlighted anything related to life sciences, and ended up getting a call from a recruiter. So I highly encourage students not only to do internships and network, but work with recruiters. Recruiters have the network. You don't need to find the network by yourself. They know who's looking. They can pair you with your skill set and your interests with jobs that are available. And I ended up getting a job, my first job out of school at AbbVie, where I ended up spending 14 years in a variety of different roles. I started out as a pharmaceutical rep back in the day. That was like the dream job. I had a car and a pager, and I don't know, it was before cell phones. But it was a really fun job. And I figured, you know what? I get to use my personality, my passion working for people and science to launch drugs and educate scientists on the next new thing. And I had the privilege of launching Humira, which is still the world's #1 selling antibody. And that was an amazing experiment. But I ended up getting bored. And I felt like I wanted to do more and learn more. So that's when I decided to go to NYU graduate school and pursue a degree in health policy. I thought, hey, I need to get an education further, but I don't want an MBA. I didn't want to just learn business. I wanted to learn about the business of healthcare, which is unbelievable that I'm now sitting in this room. And it really opened my eyes to how bills become law, how healthcare policy gets passed. I learned a ton about insurance, how you get coverage for patients, what's important, grassroots organizations, how parents pay for their own child's development of their child's drug with a rare disease. It was unbelievable. I thought potentially I would go into lobbying. I actually have an uncle who's married to a really wealthy man. So I don't know, that's kind of like the rich uncle, but not really. He's a really successful lobbyist in DC. And I thought maybe I would work for him. Again, networking. Then I realized I didn't like politics and I didn't want to be involved in that either. So I just started branching out. And it was about this time, 2 months before my wedding, where I woke up in the middle of the night with a sharp pain in my chest and I couldn't breathe. It was actually on my side. It felt like someone had punched me in the side. And I then found out through a series of tests that I had stage 4 cancer. And I had a rare cancer called thymoma. It's cancer of the thymus gland, which sits like right here. It's supposed to kind of dissolve in your adolescent years. It's responsible for producing your white blood cells and your T cells. And I guess something went whack. Maybe when I was in a car accident when I was 16, hanging upside down in a car, and almost severed my wrist off, which is a whole nother story. But some kind of disruption in my life and my immune system caused my thymus gland to go crazy. And so I had a 14 centimeter size, think of like a grapefruit tumor under my sternum, and another tumor pressing on my pleura, which is the lining of your lung and your chest wall. So 2 months before my wedding, I had two massive surgeries. I had open heart surgery, and 30 days later, on my birthday, that's just not right, I had my whole side cut open and a thoracic surgery. And half of my diaphragm is now Gore-Tex. They removed half the lining of my lung, the little piece of my heart, to remove all these tumors. And we were married on time. I was very fragile, and my mom literally was passing out like little cards that said, "Do not hug the bride." But we were married on time, and I had asked when I was diagnosed with cancer. So after I do all of that, chemo, radiation, yada yada yada, how long do I have to wait before I can have a baby? So, me, the planner, wanted to know what was next, right? What am I going to do next? What's next? What's next? And so people that were taking care of me thought I was probably crazy, because they really want to save the patient. They're not thinking long term. But honestly, if I hadn't spoken up and I wasn't an advocate for myself, I would not have my twins. So we harvested eggs, we froze embryos. I had injections all over, during my honeymoon. And obviously before all the treatments, had all the treatments. 2 years later, I kept asking, how much longer do I have to wait? How much longer do I have to wait? 2 years after I finished all the treatment, through the first IVF, I was successfully pregnant with twin boys. And so I check box, first dream. When I was expecting the twins, we moved home, and this is sort of where my career shifted. Wanted to be near family to raise the boys, and there was a company called Human Genome Sciences, which many of you may have heard of, in Rockville, Maryland. And I moved over to head up sales training for the launch of a drug called Benlysta. It was antibody for the treatment of lupus, which is a horrible multi-systemic disease with no treatment options in 50 years other than steroids. So as Woody shared, being involved in a product launch is really rewarding. But after 2 years, we were acquired by GSK, and I thought, I'm going to use this next opportunity, now that I've done 2 product launches, to go do something else. And through networking, I learned about contract manufacturing. So I think Dick and several others are going to be talking about contract development and manufacturing. Lupin and other companies that Woody's been a part of are essential in the process of drug development and commercialization. And you could see it was a very critical part. I think it was the third longest bar of where all the money and all the activity is in the biotech industry. Contract development and manufacturing is fascinating. You can be a scientist, you can be in BD, you can be in legal. There's so many opportunities in CDMO. I think it's poised to be like a $40 to $60 billion industry in the next 10 years. There's tons of jobs in CDMO. We could talk about that some other time if you're interested. But for 14 years, I was at Abbott, and for 14 years, I was in CDMO. I've worked for some of the world's largest CDMOs like Lonza and Fujifilm, making and creating hundreds and hundreds of commercial products, mostly in the biologic space. Antibodies, cell and gene therapies, recombinant vaccines. It's been incredible. And over that time, I sort of just networked and looked for new opportunities, raised my hand when there was a need, whether it was editor of the company newsletter or someone needed an event planned or they needed someone to take on a new project. Always speak up, always look for those opportunities where you can apply your skill sets. And when you start stalling and you're feeling uninspired or bored, that's when you need to contact the recruiter. So many times I contacted recruiters and said, I'm not really looking, but I'm kind of looking. And here's my updated resume and let me know if anything, looks interesting to me. And pretty much through networking and recruiting, I worked my way from sales to sales training to director of business development and CDMO to head of business development and CDMO to SVP of strategic partnerships at a CDMO to chief commercial officer at a CDMO. And all the while, I made sure that I stayed true to my passion, which was I'd like to try to find a cure for cancer. Where can I work where I can try to find a cure for cancer? I'm not a scientist. I don't have a PhD, but I understand how to make it happen. And so I think that's another bit of advice is that you don't need to be a chemie. You don't need to be a PhD if you want to play a role in finding a cure for cancer or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or whatever touches you personally, go for that. So when I was the chief commercial officer at a cell therapy CDMO, and I went cell therapy specialized CDMO because cell therapies like Harte and in vivo Harte are going to be, I think, what cures cancer. It's curing cancer now, bloodborne cancers. We're working on solid tumor feverishly. But this is the way that cancer will be cured. So now what? We have to scale them up. We have to reduce COGS. We have to implement technology. We have to find a way to get these therapies to the patients who need them all around the world, regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of insurance. But they are very, very expensive. As you've seen in the news, $1 million, $3 million a dose. Who's paying for that? And why is it so expensive? And how can we make these more affordable? And so we're going to get into some questions here. And then later this afternoon, we're going to have a really good discussion on what are the bottlenecks and how do we make this happen. But I think that just part of my personal story from Clemson to career, you can see the theme, right? Personal, I don't want to say tragedy, but personal challenges drive your choices, even all the way back from the beginning. Personal interests drove me to science. Personal challenges drove me to finding a way to help other people like me. And then you need to find the roles that fit your skill sets within that triangle. And the cell therapy CDMO, where I was chief commercial officer, is another story about be okay with quitting. You don't want to stay where you're not thriving and growing and where you are not aligned with leadership or their culture or their vision or the way that they're running the business. You can be junior and look up and know this is not right. You can be senior sitting at the board table looking at the chairman and being like, this is not right. And also, if you're sitting in a room and you're thinking, that's not how I would do it, I think I would do it this way. And I think it would be better. And I think the people would like it better. So when you're feeling like you could maybe do a better job than the person who's leading, it's time for you to lead. So I walked away without a job, 3 children. I also have a daughter who's 10, which is another story in and of itself. But I walked away without a job. I was very frustrated. And at dinner, my husband said, you know what? Just quit. Quit tomorrow. Quit. Just quit. I'm like, no 2 weeks, no nothing. He's like, nope, they don't deserve it. You're better. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. Just quit. So I literally quit on a call, on a Zoom call. That felt good. You hear about those stories of people getting fired on Zoom. Not cool. But I said, you know, I'm no longer aligned with this company culturally. I'm no longer aligned with the company strategically. Today's my last day. And they literally said, okay, you should probably drop off the call now. And I said, all right, have a good life. See you later. Something along those lines. I swear, 2 months later, through networking, I was approached. I started reaching out to folks I know. And one of the people that I'd reached out to, because I let them know I was looking for a job, reached out and said, hey, I'm working with this venture fund called Genesis Biocapital out of Cambridge, Mass. And they're looking for a CEO to run a startup company who's licensed IP from University of Hawaii that's doing targeted precision genome engineering. I'm like, what? That sounds amazing. What exactly is that? And I said, is that like CRISPR? And they said, well, it's like CRISPR, but it's better than CRISPR. And we think you should check it out because we think you'd love the management team. And we think you're a perfect fit for the culture. So 3 conversations, not even over video, later with the managing partner of the fund, he offered me the role as founder CEO of Como Biosciences, and he offered me the opportunity to be a venture partner at the fund. And I just couldn't believe it. I thought this is just a dream come true. I get to learn something new about fundraising, being a venture partner. In my career of 30 years, I hadn't had this line of sight yet. And I thought it was just an incredible opportunity. I met the team, had a few phone calls with them. Again, in this day and age, very weird that we never even had a video call. It was all just phone calls, which I really liked and respected a lot. And so now, a year later, we have raised $2 million in seed funding. We signed our first research license for the technology. Get this, to a company that was much farther up our beachhead. We thought we were going to go after antibodies first, rapid response to pandemics, where there's a really significant need. But the first company we did a research license with is a company that's curing cancer. They're using a technology called mini CARs. And it's a CAR T therapy, but it's called mini CARs, and it's a platform technology where all you have to do is drop in the new gene of interest for the disease that you want to treat. You don't need to develop something new for every single patient. So it's a platform CAR T technology where they will use our integrase platform technology to precisely create universal, stable cell lines rapidly. And that's where our technology comes into play. And we can talk about the technology if you're interested later. But we take a timeline that's 9 months for stable clonal cell line generation. We can do that process in less than 4 weeks. So this is where I'll be able to help save time, save money, improve accessibility, reproducibility, and predictability for potential cures for cancer. So that's my story. And I think that, I could go on and on. I'm so sorry because I took longer than you did. But that is my story. And I think it starts with follow your dreams, study what you're interested in, network, use recruiters, talk to anyone and everyone, because I would say 5 of my different roles were from recruiters and 2 of them, 5 of them were from networking, 3 of them were from recruiters. If you're bored, time to go. If you're not happy, time to go. And keep looking for that next new opportunity where you can learn and grow, because you always need to be learning, you always need to be growing, and never give up hope. I think that hope is essential. Whether you're running out of money, keep the hope. Keep fundraising. Whether you're diagnosed with cancer, you blow out your ankle, whatever it may be, whatever setback that you have in life, just maintain hope and believe that the sun is on the other side of your darkest days, and you can overcome anything if you believe in yourself and lean on your network. Obviously, without my husband, my mom, my children, my sisters, I wouldn't be sitting here. And be the kind of leader that you always wanted to be, led by. And stay true to yourself. What other little pieces of advice can I give? I had one more one that I wanted to leave you with. You don't need to see the whole map. Just get started. I think that people are worried about, I'm going to start school and I'm going to have this job and I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to study that. I'm going to work for this company. That's not really the best way. Just get going and trade perfection for momentum. Just keep moving. and you'll find success in your journey. Thank you so much. I think, Chris, one of the questions that we talked about that I wanted to give you the opportunity to answer was um, what at Clemson shaped you the most, which you actually sort of answered. But maybe how about what skills should students build now for a career in biotech?
I think two pieces of advice for all of you. The first one, she already alluded to it. Whatever you do, whatever you get into next, you know, it might be menial when you start. You're going to graduate from here. You're going to think, I'm a really smart person. And then they're going to give you some menial tasks. Just smash it. Whatever they give you, even if it's like the stupidest thing, just crush it with a smile. Just absolutely knock it out of the park. It's so important. So when we get young people in, and you get some of these guys who go, well, you know, I've got a degree in this and that, and you want me to do this thing. It's like, you know, we're a small growing company. Well, we're not small anymore, but we're a growing company like crazy. We all have to do things that aren't necessarily what we want to do. Just accept it and say, absolutely, and crush it. Just crush it. That's not necessarily a biotech answer, but that's good philosophy of life. I could tell you all the people that we promote within the group are the people who do that. They just take everything with a smile, they prove themselves, and when something opens up, you want that person who just, you know, they're going to grab it and crush it. So just do it. Don't be arrogant, you know. And then when it comes to life sciences, I don't know, you know, it's so diverse, like Woody's thing here, you know, there's the science side, there's the sales side, there's the compliance side, you were CMO, you know, I would say absolutely whatever piece you choose, be a subject matter expert. So when I started, I really didn't know anything, you know, but damn sure I was going to learn. I mean, I immersed myself like, you know, kind of like I was dropped in Lithuania. Who knows Lithuanian in the audience? Well, do you really? Oh, laba diena. Kaip sekasi? Yeah, aš pamirštu, kaip kabelį lietuviškai. You just have to learn it. Be like really steep yourself in the subject and be an expert. So smash the tasks, even if they're menial, and then whatever you're given. I mean, just you have to be an expert in whatever piece it is, and don't ever do the well. I don't know. I'm only this thing. No, learn everything. I mean, you need to own it. Like you want people to come to you because you're the one that knows everything, and you're the one that will take on any project and just absolutely make it beautiful.